Hey, what's up guys? My name is Artorigold, and today I'd like to go over Mercy and how you can use her to climb to the higher ranks. So, Mercy's really seen a little bit more into the meta recently for quite a few reasons. One, because she's very strong in Bunker because of the damage boost that she can provide to Bastion, but also because of quad DPS, she's a very efficient solo healer because of her high survivability. And that's one of the bigger things that I want to go over and just how to play Mercy, and really it's all about surviving. So first off, one of the biggest key points to Mercy that I'd like to talk about is her super jump. It's one of the most effective things, but there are a lot of people on the ladder, even at the Masters and Grandmasters rank, who I don't see use it. And so I'm going to go over it in the first clip, and then I'm going to explain how to do it. So right here, you see me do the super jump. It's very effective in this instance because there is an enemy tracer. So if the enemy team has people like Tracer or Mei and characters that are generally going to be on the ground, then your super jump is going to be very effective, especially because you can try to get onto high ground pieces like right up here, and then you can stay safe and they're not going to be able to really reach you unless there may be a Widowmaker or maybe a Pharah or some sort of more mobile hero or long-range hero that can get you from those kind of high ground areas. So in order to pull off the super jump, you have to make sure that you are about to dash to an ally, and then you are going to use whatever your default hotkey is for crouch. In this instance, it will be control. You hold down control, and then you hold down left shift, which is what you're going to be using for your dash. And then as you reach your ally, right when you start to slow down and you kind of reach your destination, you will then hit the space bar and you will go flying into the air. And at that point, you also release your control and shift buttons. So this is what it's going to look like in full speed. You'll kind of notice there's actually a small, tiny little window where things start to slow down. And at that moment, that's when you let go of your control and of your shift, and that's when you use your space bar or whatever you use for jump, and you're going to go flying into the air. Now, you can use the super jump in a lot of different ways. It's best to kind of escape targets or enemies that are on the ground that are trying to kill you. It also can just be really effective at stalling the objective. If you're one of the only people on the point, then you can use that to kind of get the enemies to kind of keep guessing where you're going to go and give you different angles to dash around to your allies as well. The super jump is a very effective tool, and you all need to learn to use this as Mercy. It's going to take your survivability and your mobility to a completely different level, and you can utilize this on almost any map. I think every map it's effective on, right? You just go flying into the air, the enemy has a tough time reaching you and doing damage to you, and because of your own passive self-regeneration, you're going to be able to survive, not get hit from damage while you're up there, hide up on the high ground or something, and then you're able to re-engage at a different time. I want to go over the mobility of Mercy and how to play her in a quad DPS comp. Now, quad DPS probably isn't that common, or maybe it is, but generally it's going to be 4 mobile DPS and a ball as your solo tank, and you will be solo healing as Mercy. You can sometimes pull off maybe an Ana or a Moira as a solo healer, but typically a Mercy is going to have a lot better time staying alive and healing people, and the Resurrect can be very crucial, and your ultimate is basically just a way to keep yourself alive as well too. So when you're playing solo heal Mercy, and I know it probably happens more than you'd like it to, but it is pretty legit with a quad DPS, you basically want to constantly use your shift. Always dash around from your heroes or your allies, just dash from one to the next to the one to the next. Never stay in the same spot as Mercy. Now, I think in any ordinary situation, you always want to be like that with Mercy. You always constantly want to use your shift. It's a very short cooldown. It's basically only a 2-second cooldown, and you want to use it as much as possible, but you also want to make sure that you can heal your allies and not let them die. But there are a few things you need to watch out for. You can't go for reses when the enemy is right on top of you. You can't go for reses in really bad open areas. You have to do it around corners, and you have to make sure that there's going to be nothing that interrupts your res. One of the more common things that happens with Resurrects is that they get canceled by stuns or CCs. One good example of something that can stop it is actually a Lucio boop. If the Lucio knows what he's doing, he can boop you fairly quickly, just, speed amp, run in, boop you, and get out So you want to make sure that you do it when you're around a corner or when the body's around the corner and the enemy team is nowhere to be found. But in a solo heal situation, what's going to happen is everybody on your team, they will be critical at one point or another. What you should do is if you see multiple people who are critical, you should try to get them both up a little bit at a time. So don't just commit to getting that one hero to full health. Try to get that hero above half. And then if somebody else needs healing, then go for them. You basically want to switch between targets, heal them a little bit at a time. Don't just sit there and focus healing the Hammond the entire time. Heal him a tiny bit, get him a little bit more where he's stabilized, but then immediately look around for another target to dash to and try to heal them up a little bit. Dash again, heal them up a little bit. Don't try to focus on one hero. It's actually going to help your team out a lot better that way because everybody is going to be doing different things. Everybody has different goals in a quad DPS. They're going to be everywhere doing different things, focusing on different things, and you need to make sure that you are going to heal them up a little bit as soon as possible. This is going to take a lot of game awareness more than anything. So last thing I want to talk about is your ultimate. It can be a very handy tool to kind of keep yourself alive. It has a tiny bit of a healing boost added to any of your allies, which can be great, but more importantly, it actually helps increase your odds of getting a successful res off. And I'll kind of go into an example here in this clip. As you can see, I go in for this res, and what you'll notice with the res is I actually have a little bit more movement speed, so I'm able to move around during my res. Now, normally when you res not in your ultimate form, that's not going to be the case. You actually are going to be like completely still. You can, shake around and spin around a little bit, but it's not going to change your hitbox too much. But in your ultimate form, you will get the ults off a lot easier, and people that try to CC you, you have a little bit of a better chance of dodging that CC or making it so it just doesn't hit you. If a Lucio boops you, you can probably even fly back into range of the res, and you can successfully get it off. But one of the biggest things that I like to use my ultimate for is just to keep myself alive. If I feel like I'm going to be in danger, that's when I use my ultimate, especially if you're looking at a quad DPS kind of strategy, because you're going to be able to get your ultimate very quickly because you're the only one healing, which means that you will get a ton of ult charge if you are doing your job. So using your ultimate just to save your own hide is perfectly acceptable, and that's basically how I use the ultimate every single time. Anyways guys, that's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.